Hi stamping friends, welcome to one of the cards in the August 2015 online card class. This series is going to be, as I've mentioned before, about watercoloring techniques. So this is the card that we're going to be using or that we're going to be making this time. If you're in my online card class, you will receive the PDF instructions that has all of the dimensions of the cardstock that I'm using, as well as all the supplies. Now, if you're not in my class, you want to join because September is going to be fabulous. All right, so let's get started. First of all, the pieces that you need for this card that come in the free card kit that I mail to you in the U.S. mail is the Chrome Cake back, base, a piece of black, and I'm going to be sending you a piece of the shimmer white paper that's going to be about this size, and it's the perfect size to do your stamping on. And then you're going to have a strip that will be your background piece. Okay, so that's why you're going to get one square, but you're going to stamp and then cut off, and then that way you'll have enough to make your card. I've already done the stamping, but I do want to show you a little bit as we make the video on what to do with the stamping. The other thing that you're going to be getting are the 3 rhinestones for your card. And of course, you always get a free envelope. All right, so the first thing I want to do is take the crumb cake, and I'm using the boho folder that is a new folder with Stampin' Up, and I'm going to go ahead and put that in my folder, and I'm just going to do it right at the score line. You want to leave this flat when you're running it through the Big Shot. Now on my Big Shot cutting plates, I like to have separate plates that are just for embossing folders only. And the reason is these do not get warped or bent like when you're using it with the die cutting, so that your embossing is totally, your piece of cardstock is totally embossed. And so that way you don't have any misses or bumps in it. So I'm going to go ahead and put this on. Put my cutting plate on, run it through. I'm just going to move this out of the way. There. Now, let's talk about the pattern. When you do this, you have 2 sides that you can use. You can use what I call the recessed pattern or the embossed. So embossed or de-embossed, whatever you want to call it. So for this one, I'm going to use the de-embossed side just for fun. And of course, the stamp set that you were told that we're using this month is the Remarkable You. I love the big bold flowers in this set, and I love the sayings. You are remarkable, and I'm so grateful for you. Anytime you have a choice of buying stamp sets, it's always fun to get some with words and pictures so that you have lots of choices when you're making your cards. All right, so the stamp that I used, whoops, wrong box. I love wood mount. So when you get the wood mount versions, you do get 2 boxes sometimes when the stamps are so large. So I'm using this stamp, and I'm using StazOn. Now I'm using rubber stamps, and I'm using StazOn. This ink does stay on, hence the name. So you'll want to be careful when you are inking up any stamps. There is a StazOn cleaner that you can purchase, so you can order that if you don't have that. So when I did the stamping for this, I just inked up the flower part. I'll go ahead and put it on here so you can see what I did. And then I just stamped straight down and then lifted straight up. I don't need the stem because we're going to be doing some fussy cutting. And then there's the second one. Okay, so while they are not cut apart, I'm going to be doing my watercoloring because I find that that is a little bit easier. I'm using Melon Mambo, And I'm just going to squeeze the pad. Now, if you don't have Stampin' Up! Pads, I wouldn't do this. This squeezing might break your pad, and I am not responsible if you're not using Stampin' Up! Pads. All right, so you can see that I have some ink in here, and you can tell where I have been playing with watercoloring in the past because my lid is stained. That's not a problem. These are water-based. I can easily take some wet wipies or wet towel and wipe that out. But you know what? I just mess it up again, so the two things that you can use, excuse me, and you were told when we sent you the list of supplies, you can either use an aqua painter or a blender pen. I'm going to be alternating these on the series. So for right now, I'm just going to use an aqua painter. You'll want to put some water in the barrel. Excuse me. And then I want to do a little bit of squeezing and add a little pool of water. And then I'm just going to mix that in with my color. That gives me a darker and a lighter tone. And at first, I'm going to just be outlining my flower in different parts. Now, you can see that I've done that, and my lid was a little bit angled, so my water kind of mixed in, but that's okay. I want more of a watercolored look. That's the whole purpose of this class. When you are watercoloring, there has to be a light source, okay? So my light source in this image is going to be from the top. My light source is coming straight down, so everything that is not outlined is going to be a lot fainter, okay? I do have some scratch paper, and I just want to get some of that ink off. I hope you can see how fast and easy that is, okay? The water and the shimmer white cardstock allows you to move that ink around a bit, and it just blends in very nicely, okay? You always want to clean off your tip when you're done. Cap it, set it aside. All right, so I'm done with this part. I need my stamp that says, "Remarkable, you are remarkable." I'm going to set that aside to dry just a little bit, and I'm going to take my other piece and my StazOn again because I have it out. So that's the ink that I want to use. And make sure you stamp it the right way. Don't stamp upside down. I've been known to do that a time or two. All right, so I'm just going to stamp straight down and lift straight up. Always put your lid back on your StazOn, and since I have this in my hand, let me show you something. There is a clear cap in there, and you don't want to throw that away if you're just buying your StazOn. You want to keep that, and I have stuck a glue dot underneath so that it doesn't always stick to my pad and I'm pulling it off and getting my hands black every time. That way it stays on there and seals that ink from drying out. All right, so now I promised you a tip. I'm using the Paper Piercing Pack Essentials. And there are several different patterns in here, but I'm going to be using this to line up, and I'm going to be using my paper piercer, and I already have my paper piercing mat down. If you don't have one of these, you really do need it, not just for paper piercing. If you have any photopolymer stamps, then you really need this as well. All right, so I just want to line this up, and then I'm going to be poking my 3 holes so that I can put where I want my rhinestones. So you can see by doing that, all of my holes are in line, and now I have a mark of where I want to put them. Since I have this out, you can use that. I'm going to go ahead and use my full sheet, but you can use this paper piercing tool to lift up your rhinestones if that's easy for you. If that's not easy for you, grab your snips. I prefer to keep them shut. Some people open them up, but I prefer to keep them shut so that I don't cut myself. Okay, so there you have it. All right, let's attach this to the black. And I think I cut my paper a little bit too wide. So yours will be trimmed down a little bit better, but you want a little bit more of the black border on there. But for the video, I'll just stick with what I have so I don't have to stop and cut. So now, speaking of cutting, I'm going to fussy cut this out. Okay, so now that I've done that, something that I noticed as I was cutting out, if your watercoloring gets out of the line, don't worry about it. You're going to be cutting it off, so don't worry about being so perfect. All right, so let's put our card together. As you've seen me do in other videos, I like to just fold this down a little bit. I like to use the multi-purpose glue, the Tombow multi-purpose glue, whenever I'm sticking anything to a textured background. And then I love dimensionals. Now, I didn't mess up. Remember, I showed you how I flipped it over and stamped in front of you. However, it's a good reminder that the cardstock is two-sided. So if you mess up, don't stress. You can flip it over. All right, so digging your fingernails in, whether you have any or not, you can release that backing. And we're going to add one flower right here. And I love how the paper even curls a little bit. It kind of gives the flower a 3D effect. There we go. We are done. So this is the more perfect one with the black border, but I hope you enjoyed this video and come back for the next one.